The actual anniversary of Honkai Star Rail is finally here, and with it we have a few things coming. First, we'll be receiving another 1600 Stellar Jades in the mail, so for those of us still trying to get their hands on aventurine, a little bit of help is here. The next thing that's going to be happening, which we're going to be talking about in this video, is the 300% Cavern of Corrosion event. This one I've been eagerly waiting for because I'm really lacking some Relic XP and I'm just addicted to relics. In this video, we're going to be talking about each Cavern of Corrosion and try to give you an idea of which one you should be farming. And obviously, if you have any experience with the relic system, we're probably all going to get 3 times the trash, but just in case you do get something good, I'm going to try and make sure you're farming in the right place. Just a quick disclaimer, while I do try my best to give a judgment on each cavern, at the end of the day it entirely depends on what you want. So try your best to use the information I give you and apply it to your own account. Also, pretty much all the advice in this video can easily be applied to normal relic farming when the 3 times event is not here anymore. The first one is the cavern with the ice set and the wind set. The ice relic is okay. The 2-piece is decent on all the ice DPS units, but the 4-piece is not that great. With our 2 5-star ice DPS, Yanqing and Jingliu, they already give themselves so much crit that the 25 crit damage isn't as good as it might seem. For Herder, it is actually her best option, except in pure fiction, the follow-up set, which we'll be talking about later, might be a bit more efficient to farm. So if you're only using her for pure fiction, the ice set might still not be worth it. Misha is the one DPS where I would say the ice set is actually his best in-slot option in most scenarios. Now for the eagle set on the other side, this is a bit of a tricky case. For our wind DPS, this isn't a good option at all. 4-star Dan Heng has the new Pioneer set, and Blade has his signature set, Longevous Disciple. But what makes this relic set a bit interesting is the 4-piece, which advances the wearer forward after they use their ult. This effect is really good on support units for cheating out speed to hit certain breakpoints. You can use this on a unit like Pella, Sparkle, or Silverwolf in teams where you want them to be really fast. If you're a min-maxer who likes zero cycling or playing for low cycle clears, then the Eagle set is actually a decent option to farm for your supports. Overall, I think this cavern is okay. The ice set is not too hot but has some uses, and the wind set is only for players truly trying to optimize their support units. Now the cavern we're going to be talking about next is the Path of Jabbing Punch, which has the physical damage set and the thief set. If you're building or trying to improve your Argenti, this is a very good set. Not because it's particularly good though, but more that he doesn't have other options. For Clara, this set is also very good, but she actually does have another option in Longevous Disciple that we'll be talking about a bit later. The Thief set is also pretty decent. If you're going for a break effect build on someone like Luca or Silverwolf, then this set's for you. The 2-piece is also very good on Ranmei, as she can easily pair it with like a 2-piece speed for one of her better relic combinations. The problem with the Thief set is, 1, it can be passively farmed through Echoes of War if you do that often, and 2, the newest relic domain has the Watchmaker set that also has a 2-piece break effect, and for Ranmei it comes with a better 4-piece as well. If you aren't trying to build or improve your physical units or are a huge fan of break effect teams, I personally wouldn't recommend this cavern that much. The next cavern is the Path of Drifting, which has the Musketeer and Passerby relics. The Passerby relic is not very useful. The 2-piece healing bonus can be paired with a 2-piece speed for a decent combination on your healers, but it isn't necessary most of the time. The only healer who I think really benefits from the 2-piece is Gallagher, because his healing is a flat amount that doesn't scale off any of his own stats. Now the 4-piece is a bit interesting as it has some niche uses in specific zero cycle clears. Some rotations that are needed to zero cycle require an extra skill point, and sometimes players will slap this 4-piece on a support to make it happen. 99% of the player base is never going to need this though, so most of the time I would say this 4-piece is useless. The Musketeer set is honestly a very good DPS set and a bit underrated. The 2-piece attack is very good on pretty much every DPS in the game, as 2-piece combinations aren't too far behind from 4-piece sets in Star Rail. If you're also trying to hit speed breakpoints such as 134 or trying to speed tune with Bronya, the 6% speed from the 4-piece can be very helpful. Ting Yun, whose buff scales off her own attack, can actually use the Musketeer set as she also likes the speed very much. On Imbibe the Lunae specifically, the Musketeer set can also be a very good option as he benefits from the basic attack increase as well. If you are playing with a sparkle though, the 6% speed might be a bit wasted. Now once again, the Musketeer set can be farmed passively through Echoes of War, but since it's a DPS set, you will be wanting to look for good substats, which might not happen passively. Overall, I wouldn't recommend this Relic cavern, mainly because of the Passerby set that doesn't really have much use cases. Next up, we have the Path of Providence, with the Guard of Wuthering Snow and Genius of Brilliant Star relics. The Quantum set is one of the best relics that we have in the game. It's honestly the closest DPS set we have to being universal, as in it can be used on pretty much every character. Yes, the 2-piece quantum damage is useless on most units, but the defense ignore in the 4-piece is decent against non-quantum weak, but insanely good against quantum weak enemies. The only DPS that I can say doesn't really want the quantum set is Acheron, where her teams have so much defense threat already that the bonus from the quantum set doesn't do as much. The Guard Relic set is a decent 2-piece on pretty much every support, and especially Phys. It can be nice to make your characters a bit tankier, but overall it isn't needed that much. The 4-piece is pretty much useless unless you're doing some solo blade showcase. This Cavern of Corrosion is honestly up there with how good it is to farm, and that's entirely because of the quantum set. Next we have the Knight of Purity Palace and Band of Sizzling Thunder. The Knight set is a shielding set, and that's pretty much it. As a 2-piece and a 4-piece, you can use these on characters that apply shields like Japad, Aventurine, March, or Fire MC. The Band of Sizzling Thunder is not very good. In 1.0 it was an okay option for a lightning DPS like King Ran or Kafka, but both of these characters have received newer, better options in a much more efficient cavern to farm. Since Aventurine just came out, and I'm guessing a decent amount of people are building him, this cavern is okay to farm, but personally I would say it's not worth it since there are other alternatives. The Fire and Imaginary set are up next, and both of them are not very good options. The Fire set is just pretty bad. The 2-piece obviously can be used on fire DPS units, but the 4-piece is pretty useless. Our 5-star fire DPS units in Topaz and Himiko both prefer the follow-up set by a pretty big margin. The Imaginary set is very good when all the conditions are met, but that isn't going to be all the time. If you are building a DPS welt, the 4-piece is very good as he can consistently apply the debuff himself and imprison enemies. For Imbibe the Lune, farming for the 2-piece is a very good option, since he doesn't really have a clear 4-piece set. The 4-piece is only good on him if you are consistently playing with a debuffer like Pella. Personally, I now play him exclusively with Tingyun and Sparkle, so this 10 crit rate is not coming. The crit damage from the prison is okay since Danheng does do good break bar damage, but it's only going to work against imaginary weak enemies, and even then not the whole time. I would say only farm this cavern if you're certain that you're committing to 2-piece builds for your fire DPS units and building Danheng or Welt. Next up is our first non-1.0 set, which contains the Longevous Disciple and Messenger Relic sets. Longevous Disciple 4-piece is very good on units who can use it, with those being Blade, Clara, and Arlen. The 2-piece HP can be used on supports to make them a bit tankier, but overall it's not needed. The only support where I would say that the 12% HP is good on would be Phys. Now the Messenger set is a very good relic set overall. The 2-piece speed can be used on literally anyone. Supports will always favor it a lot since most supports are building to be as fast as possible. If you're trying to get your DPS to hit speed thresholds, then they can also use the 2-piece. The 4-piece effect in my opinion is a bit overrated however. It can still be good to have on your supports, but since most players should be building their characters to reach their speed breakpoints anyway, this extra speed on alt cast isn't needed at all. I'd say if you're still building your support units, and I mean literally any of them, this cavern can be really good to farm. If you're also trying to build or improve your Blade or Clara, then this cavern is basically perfect. If you are already happy with your support builds and you don't need Longevous Disciple, then you can probably go somewhere else. The Ashblazing Grand Duke and Prisoner in Deconfinement are up next. These two relic sets are very good, and there's a good chance that a lot of players have characters that need them. Firstly, the 2-piece of both sets are awesome. 2-piece follow-up and 2-piece attack can be used on a lot of DPS units and they'll easily be able to perform very well. The 4-piece follow-up specifically is very good on units with multi-follow-up attacks like Topaz, Himiko, and King Ran. In Pure Fiction, where Herder can farm follow-ups, this set will also be really good for her. The Dot set is pretty much best in slot for anyone that interacts with the dot mechanic. Like the Quantum set, it also has a defense ignore, which automatically makes it insane. Kafka and essentially all her dot partners want this set a lot. This cavern is definitely up there as one of the better ones to farm. If you are building any of the follow-up DPS units or dot units, you should live in this cavern for a little while. Our final cavern is the one with the Pioneer and Watchmaker set. The debuff set is a bit of a weird situation because when you meet the 3 debuff requirement for the 4-piece, this is almost best in slot for every DPS unit in the game. Unfortunately, that isn't possible most of the time, but it is something to keep in mind. For characters like Acheron, Dr. Ratio, or Welt who naturally play with debuffs, this set is their best in slot. The 2-piece effect only requires 1 debuff on the enemy, so it can also be used as the 2-piece on other DPS units. The Watchmaker set is a bit of a weird case. The 2-piece break effect is decent, just like when I talked about the Thief set, but the 4-piece is currently only good on Ranmei. Since there aren't any DPS units that play around break effect, this team-wide buff isn't very useful. However, in the future when break effect scaling units come around, this 4-piece effect could become best in slot for a lot of support units. So just to summarize, the debuff set is quite good, but has some requirements needed to reach its max potential. If you're farming for Ratio or Acheron, this cavern may be worth staying in. The break effect set currently is only good on Ranmei, but in the future it could become very valuable, so overall a decent cavern to farm. And that's all the caverns in the game. I tried my best to list off example characters for every set, but I definitely missed some, especially with 4-star units, so just keep that in mind. The cavern that you should choose to farm during this 3x event entirely depends on your account, so even those that I didn't recommend, they could be really good for you. An easy example is the Physical and Thief cavern. I don't think this is very good for most players, but if you are specifically trying to improve your Argenti and also trying to fix your Ranmei build, this cavern would be perfect for you. So try and figure out what you're working on so you don't waste this event. And that's pretty much it for the video. This was a bit different from my normal content, falling more into the guide category, but I decided to give it a try to help some people out. Quick reminder to those of you who missed the last video, as a reward for watching until the end, currently in my Discord server, link in the description, there is a giveaway for 5 Welkins/supply passes that is going on right now. Join the server to find out more about the giveaway. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate a like and subscribe, and in the comments below, let me know how this 3x event is treating you with the relics. Best of luck, and thanks for watching.